Hello, my name is Mitchell Meagle, and I'm doing my risk management plan on MLB fan safety. The mission statement of the MLB is to provide family fun and professional entertainment in a safe facility for fans to come and watch their favorite teams. The main objective is to implement the risk management plan and its regulations in place prior to the 2016 season. We want to eliminate serious incidents by taking protective measures that will be discussed in the risk management plan. Now it's time to discuss the backbone of the plan. The whole purpose of this plan is to increase the fan safety league-wide. There has been an increase in fan injuries over the past several years, including death and serious injuries. So this plan is set to increase fan safety at all MLB facilities. The MLB will hire a full-time security facility manager. The main objective of the manager is to eliminate serious injuries at stadiums. Under the manager will be the 30 MLB teams' security facility managers. Every team in the MLB will be required to hire a full-time security facility manager. This manager will manage each stadium's safety, report to the MLB manager, and manage the security and facility staff at the stadium. There are many risks that can occur at the major league venues. We first need to understand what a risk is. A risk is a situation involving exposure to danger. Some risk or places with risk within stadiums are fans falling over the edge, fans getting hit by baseballs or bats in the stands, assault and fan altercations, stealing, crowd control, sexual harassment, terroristic threats, fire, and power outages. Outside of the stadium, there can be incidents like assault, car accidents, and damage to personal property or theft. Weather and climate risks, such as lightning, extreme heat, extreme cold, earthquake, hurricanes, and tornadoes. There can be some issues in the concessions and facility risks, such as fire, food poisoning, alcohol consumption, drink spills, and miscellaneous accidents in the kitchen. There are also player risks, such as fans running out onto the field disrupting play, providing safe parking for players, securing areas where players can be, team fights, and player injuries. Now it is time to classify each type of risk. The table can be found here, but some important classification of risk are any in the high frequency row, such as fans slipping and falling, weather-related injuries or damages to properties, and alcohol-related incidents. One risk that has been receiving a lot of media attention is at moderate frequency and critical loss, which is a fan getting hit by a baseball or bat in the stands. The MLB has a new policy in place that will be active for the 2016 season to limit the amount of injuries similar to this. Lastly, another topic that receives a lot of media attention is when a fan is killed at a stadium. This doesn't happen often, but it is a catastrophic loss to the MLB because it can affect attendance figures if fans decide not to go to games because they feel unsafe at the park. This is the risk management matrix that can be found in the Law for Recreation and Sports Managers textbook. This matrix shows different areas that correlate back to the classification of risk slide. Each area corresponds to what type of treatment is necessary to each risk. In the next slide, I will define what each word means to make more sense of this matrix. First, why is this matrix even important? It is important to identify and classify each risk previously talked about. It is necessary to understand how to handle different types of risk and how frequently each incident can occur. The MLB is trying to manage safe and secure environments at each stadium. Now let's define the words of the risk management matrix. Avoidance is a treatment that requires specific activities that should not be included within the content of a program. Cotton and Woolhan, 2007. This simply means that an issue that is currently on the rise in other sports or areas of the public image should be completely avoided from being implemented into the MLB culture. One hypothetical scenario would be if cheerleaders are getting seriously injured at NFL games, then the MLB should avoid bringing cheerleaders to the MLB to avoid this issue overall. Transfer is the shifting of the ability or responsibility of loss from a service provider to another party. It is required to meet two conditions. The risk of loss is not substantial enough to warrant the avoidance of the activity, and the risk is greater than the organization can assume on its own. Cotton and Woolhan, 2007. The best example of this is having insurance. If a fan is injured from a hole in the ground in the facility, then the team can use the insurance to transfer the risk instead of paying from their own pocket. The third term is reduction. This is a simple term. It means to simply decrease the risk of occurring at a stadium. There are often times where risk cannot be permanently eliminated, so reducing the risk is the next best option. One example of this, and a policy that the MLB will have in effect, is the netting. Foul balls are inevitable in baseball, but the one area that the MLB can control is the safety and protection each team can provide for their fans. This risk plan calls for a new netting policy to be regulated by the start of the 2016 season. The final term is retention. This means that the organization is simply going to assume the risk and financial responsibility for certain injuries that might occur. The risk management plan for MLB fan safety is calling for several new policies for the 2016 season. The first policy is netting. As discussed previously, fans at games are getting struck by baseballs and bats flying at high velocities. So to reduce the risk, the MLB is requiring every MLB stadium to have netting at least 35 feet above the ground within 70-foot radius of home plate. The second policy is railings. An Atlanta Braves fan, Greg Murray, died last season at Turner Field because the railings were so low at the stadium. His family have recently decided to sue the Braves due to this negligence. It was claimed that the section where he was sitting had railings only 30 inches high. It was said if the railings were at least 42 inches, he wouldn't have fallen to his death. So to prevent this from occurring again, the MLB is requiring all guardrails to be at least 48 inches tall in all stadiums. This height can prevent people from falling over the edge on an accident. Next is the lightning policy. If lightning were to strike within 10 miles of the stadium, the game will be instantly delayed for at least 30 minutes. Every time a lightning strikes within 10 miles of the stadium, it will be another 30-minute delay. If no lightning has occurred within 10 miles of the stadium within 30 minutes, play can resume. The MLB is also investing into an app that the team's security facility manager will be required to have on their mobile device. The app uses the stadium's location and meteorology technology to inform the manager if lightning has struck within the 10-mile radius. The next policy is the extreme heat policy. The MLB will adhere to the National Athletic Trainers Association's guidelines. There are 4 respective quadrants on the graph on this slide, and each has 4 different speculations when reached. In Zone A, players and fans should be able to play and watch the game without added necessities. In Zone B, it will be required for all stadiums to turn on misters and fans within the concourse level to provide areas for fans to cool off. The dugouts will also have the fans and misters to cool players and coaches off as well. In Zone Z, not only will the fans and misters be required, but fans will receive complimentary water to limit heat exhaustion and dehydration. People in the dugout will have water and other necessary drinks provided. In Zone D, the game will be canceled and rescheduled. It is in the best interest of everyone if the game is not going to be played if the heat index reaches this zone. The MLB and its teams are not responsible for lost or stolen items. However, there will be a required stand on the concourse level of all stadiums where fans can go and report their lost or stolen items. The person will be asked to complete a document explaining the lost item and where it was lost. If someone is caught stealing by hired security, the culprit will be tried to the fullest extent. If there is a bomb or terroristic threat made on the stadium, there will be a checklist every worker has on them to make sure as much information is received. After the checklist is completed, the person receiving the threat will immediately take it to their supervisor, who will then take the threat to the national security. The next policy is the fire policy. The MLB will require every stadium to have ADA-compliant fire alarms and fire extinguishers throughout the stadium. It will also be mandated to have exit routes or paths, along with signs throughout the stadium to give people the easiest exit path in case of a fire or any other emergency that requires evacuation. The final requirement will be that every team needs to have a generic emergency map on their programs that are going to be distributed to fans entering the stadium on game days. This gives fans another reminder of the exit strategy if needed. Another policy that will be required by the MLB is for power outages. All 30 MLB teams will adhere to having their PA system connected to a generator in case of power outages. That way, the public addresser can tell fans what to do in the state of emergency. It will be highly encouraged for every team to have lights on the main concourse that illuminate when the power goes out. Similar lights will need to be on stairs so fans can see where they walk. There will be a guest code of conduct policy. The policy is on the slide and covers anything from interfering with other guests' ability to enjoy the game, to throwing objects on the field, and to using or displaying foul or abusive language or gestures. There will be a league-wide alcohol policy as well. The policy will require everyone to have a valid photo ID when purchasing alcohol. The staff also has the right to refuse service to anyone appearing to be overly intoxicated, as well as reserving the right to dismiss anyone from the facility who is exhibiting obnoxious or disruptive behavior. The final policy in the risk management plan is crowd control. The MLB will require every team to have adequate staffing for every game. There will be at least 350 staff workers at every game that can control guests from ushers to security personnel. They will be asked to monitor fans during the games, assist fans in emergency situations, assist fans to their seats, and any other duties asked of them. Now it is time to discuss the implementation of the risk management plan. As stated previously, the MLB is going to hire a full-time facility security manager. Below him will be 30 facility security managers that will run all 30 MLB stadiums, and below those managers will be staff workers that collaborate with the 30 teams' managers. One of the most important steps in implementing the plan is to have adequate training. Thus, prior to the 26th season, each team will hold a staff workers meeting in where they are trained on the new policies and regulations. The MLB facility security manager will have weekly meetings with the team's 30 managers to discuss the fan safety and how the policies are working at each park. Then the team managers will collaborate daily with their staff to understand the fan experience firsthand. A new regulation for the MLB is to have a map at every seating chart that shows the quickest evacuation route in case of an emergency. That way, if an emergency is happening, fans can quickly use the map at each section to show them how to exit quickly. Also, teams will be asked to address threats that could be impending on the game, such as rain. The public addresser will warn fans of the heavy rain before the game and will be asked to run through the emergency plan for the impending weather. Also, walkie-talkies will be required for all ushers and security personnel at all stadiums to ensure communication quickly and effectively. Lastly, the biggest tool for the risk management plan is communication. There's a lot of collaboration from the staff workers to their supervisor to the MLB security facility manager. It is imperative that if an issue arises or if there's a change of policy or plans, that to make sure every appropriate person understands the new changes and that they are in effect at each stadium. Again, it is essential to have communication to have appropriate fan safety. If there was an issue in the safety of fans, then it should be communicated to the appropriate worker to revise the plan to make it safe again at the facility. Another important area is keeping training sessions up to date. After every year, the MLB Facility Security Manager and the 30 MLB Facility Security Managers will meet and discuss how to improve plans. Also, before the season, staff workers will be trained again to make sure they have adequate knowledge in situations and for new workers to understand the policies. The MLB doesn't require teams to have insurance, but it suggests to have an umbrella coverage that covers any major incidents. Also, the MLB asks every team to have their ushers and security personnel CPR first aid certified. The MLB will pay for the training and will pay for the retraining at the end of the expiration of their certification. The MLB requires an AED within 50 yards of every location of the stadium to ensure an AED is relatively close to the situation that might arise. It will be mandated to have a medical staff at the stadium because if a fan needs medical attention, the staff are nearby to support them. The team will have their own individual medical staff to treat the athletes' injuries daily. A security command center is not required for the MLB teams. It is highly recommended so workers can communicate at a central location and also gives fans an area to talk about issues at the stadium. These are the references of my project. Thank you for listening to my presentation.